You said this is the year of the agent. You know, we're going into the third month of 2025. Where do we stand with this being the year of the agent?
It is wild. It is wild. It's a wild, wild west. It is going to make everything easier and faster, let alone like cybersecurity. If you are not using AI every day and having it in your workflow, it doesn't matter if it's email or if it's Slack, you have to be integrating this.
Who says tech can't be human?
What is going on, Hacker Valley fam? Welcome back to the show. I'm really excited for this episode because we did a 2025 predictions in the beginning of 2025. And usually you don't really get to hear about those predictions until the very next year. So what I want to do is readdress those predictions every single month to see where we stand, especially in the state of cybersecurity. And to do this, I'm going to have my brother and also cybersecurity legend and leader in the space, Marco Figueroa, join me. Marco is the program manager of the ODIN program by Mozilla. It's a Gen AI bug bounty program. Marco, welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me, Ron. I greatly appreciate it. I look forward to these conversations that we have, and we did make a prediction, and my prediction is coming true, so we could go ahead and continue on with that.
Yes, sir. So let's jump right into it. I like to start these 2025 episodes with a bit of news, and what we have up here is a bit of news. We want to talk about this Palantir drop in the stock. One of the things that we love to talk about is stock. We talk about who are you investing in where. You brought this to my attention that this stock took a nosedive. Let's break it down.
Yeah, I mean, 2 weeks ago, it really took a shot. Like it went up 20% in like a day or two because of their earnings and the potential of the company and what they are about, right? What has happened because of all the budget cuts and the cuts to the Defense Department of 8%, they believe, which is speculation, that Palantir is going to be affected, right? I would say, to me, the company, we've known them for a long time, and I think Palantir is now becoming a household name that everybody knows about them, and they're going to grow tremendously. And I think one of the things I think their play is, because now they're using Grok 3, and if you go and look at their Twitter account, it's amazing how they have implemented. They have an amazing graph of how they implement Grok 3 into their systems. And we got to speak about Grok 3 because it was released this week. So, I mean, look, is this going to bounce back? Of course. And I think Palantir is going to have a massive year. Not only that, but I think they're going to be branching out really, into the cybersecurity realm. Everybody knows that they do analytics. That's their specialty. Mm-hmm. And they've been so quiet over the last, 10 years. And, their big win is finding Osama bin Laden and the carrier. It was basically under them that they had the analytics to tie them together. I see them blowing up and really being a player in this game.
Oh, so this isn't a political or it's typically a stock podcast, but let's talk about the opportunity there, though. I look at something like this as an opportunity because, if anybody that goes to the Doge website, they see all of the different cuts of those programs that allegedly Doge has found and stopped funding. And there's some security stuff in there. There's a lot of humanitarian pieces, but some security. I saw that Doge is also being very scrutinous of cybersecurity infrastructure security agency as well. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on, Palantir specifically? You said bounce back with, you think it's going to go up.
Palantir was the first company to say we don't have any salespeople, right? Mm-hmm. And that is not going to change because that's their core, right? But I think when you've been so successful in the realm of like the DoD, and then you go into the market and start, potentially gathering customers there. I mean, the sky's the limit. You've seen their stock has gone up. Their CEO is now parading on his new book, which is supposed to be a bestseller, and I'm bullish on them. I've purchased a lot of their stock right before their quarterly earnings just because of it. It's one of those things. It's going to bounce back, and I think, like I said, they were the Splunk of like the DoD, because all of their customers was in the DoD. And yeah, he's being more vocal and going on this world tour, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason for that. So
it's always interesting seeing news stories like this. There was a big one from NVIDIA that came out earlier this year as well, when DeepSeek was announced. And when you look at the weekly view, it doesn't look good. Like if you just bought Palantir stock this week, your pocketbook isn't looking good. It's an unrealized loss, though. You haven't sold. But if you look at Palantir over the past 6 months, the growth is crazy. 200%.
And they're doing things that are very different. Like I said, Palantir was always in the back, in the shadows, and you would see the CEO have a conversation about, said things. Now they're more vocal. They're not like shy about it. And you're seeing that happen. Just on the Twitter account, they tweeted something, like I said, it's impressive, the graphic. I looked at it and it was like, just like Gronk on the bottom and then all of the things like that.
I've actually never seen, I'm glad that we're looking at this graphics. I've never seen their product. I've heard great things about it. I heard that the military is one of their biggest customers. And when they are trying to piece together many different pieces of information and artifacts, this is the best thing that works reliably, like right out of the box.
Exactly. This gave me a sneak peek. I've never seen their product. And, they've been on the wraps because they have that DoD as a customer. And yeah, it's really looking good, and I was very impressed with just that graphic. And then Gronk X, if you go to XAI, they retweeted it. That's how come I knew that they were using it. Right.
I'm glad that this naturally was a springboard to Grok 3, because that came out this week. The internet broke all over again. It's like DeepSeek all over again. What are your thoughts on Grok?
It is the best thing since sliced bread. It is so fast. It is ridiculous. Look, with OpenAI and their O1 Pro, it's great, but it's almost, for me, it's unusable because I have to wait.
Yes.
I was doing a large research, and I did deep research on something. It took 2 hours to get the answer. 2 hours. And I would ping it every 30 minutes. You're done yet? No. Don't worry about it. So with this, it is so fast. I don't even know, like, when I ask it to go onto the internet and I tweeted this about 3 days ago, I asked it to go and write me a CVE. I gave it 2 links. By the time I opened up, a file and put import request, it was already done. It is that impressive. And if you've seen the release on Monday, the conversation, Elon was there. He was talking about one thing that really I had to figure out was, why did they move this ginormous data center to Memphis? And he explained it. And what he said was they were looking for a factory that was modern but empty. And that was the only one that was there. And what he said was he has 25% of all the cooling in that data center. 25%, all the cooling in America. And then on the other side, he has a lot of generators. And he had to do some custom manufacturing of like a Tesla outlet thingy, because the power spikes up and down were difficult. So, I mean, he is our Tony Stark. I do see a little Lex Luthor in him, but I'm just saying, here's our Tony Stark, and he's doing some great things.
don't get it twisted. You know, if you are an Avengers fan like myself, you see Tony Stark had a little bit of a dark side. Shipping his company as a whole was shipping weapons to foreign countries, a lot like the United States in some ways.
Yeah.
But, you know, I gotta take us back for a second, because I think there's a lot of people. I was actually just speaking to someone. I said, how are you using AI for cyber, and how are you using it in your personal life? And they had an answer for cyber. They said, oh, well, we use this tool that has a little bit of AI and LLM into it. It's got a little chat interface. And when it came to their personal life, they weren't using AI at all.
Hey.
So a lot of people out there aren't using things like GPT-4 by OpenAI. They're not using Grok. So how would you break down the similarities and differences between GPT-4 specifically and also Grok 3?
I want to unpack that. Is it okay if I can, as a correspondent, I want to unpack it. Listen, if you are not using AI every day and having it in your workflow, it doesn't matter if it's email or if it's Slack, you have to be integrating this into your day-to-day operations, because it is going to help you. It is going to make everything easier and faster, let alone like cybersecurity in terms of integrations, automation. It is there for you. You don't need to spend $100,000 anymore on a product to bring in, because all of it could be built internally if you have the right people there. And I think one of the things people have to concentrate is that eventually you're going to have to get into understanding how to create your workflows eventually. Mm-hmm. Like every company will make you do that. But if you start now and you know your stuff, you could go to a lot of companies. I know how to use AI and integrate it with, you know, DevOps or SOC, and people will open the doors because the productivity goes through the roof. So you have to use it day in and day out.
So now let's go to the similarities and differences between the two. Yeah. Like, in what situations would you recommend someone to use GPT-4 or even 3? Because 3, there's 3 High, there's 3 Mini, and then there's Grok. There's a lot of models. Which models are right for which jobs?
I would say, for me, I love using ChatGPT to write this better for me, and then I paste something in, and it does a great job with that. When it comes to coding, I think now Grok is better. The problem is Grok, they are going to eventually release the API. So I still have to go with a Sonnet there if you're doing some coding, especially if you use Cursor or Windsurf. I would definitely stay with that. But Grok is another beast. It is just something like, I don't know if anyone could take the crown from them. So this is why you're already hearing about ChatGPT 5. And by the way, Anthropic's on the clock. You have to drop something. And you know what? I heard on a little birdie out there, they're going to be announcing something big the last day of the month when Amazon has their event. It better be a model.
Gotta be.
Hey, if not, you're not popping bottles on that day. You have to drop a model. They have to.
So what about if you were a cybersecurity CEO or even a practitioner working in the enterprise, powering your cybersecurity operations workflow or product? Which model are you picking?
Depending on the budget. Because you could get scrappy and be just as good. Just as good. Especially if you have some talent internally. You could go with the Olama or Deep Research open source. Go with the R1. Or you could get 1776, which is the open source model for Perplexity. Take that and fine tune it to your liking using Unsloth or something like that. But You have to have those skills. You have to have those people. As a CEO, the first thing I'm doing if I'm hiring or if I'm going to hire is go ahead and show me how do you use AI and do integrations, and are you aware of agents and so on and so forth, and can you implement something? Just implement something quick, right? That's the mindset, because now it's about speed. Everything is about speed and now. Do it now. Do it now. Get it done now. How long is it going to take you? No longer no 6 months projects. We're not doing, you cannot come to me. I'm talking about weeks. You know why? I'm going to tell you why. Because what Elon did in Memphis, he did in 122 days. Where everyone else, it was going to take him 24 months. And he said, we'll be out of business by then. 122 days. Come on now. If he put that data center together, I expect something, big in 2 weeks. If you have the correct workflow, you know how you figure out if you're on the right path? Every 3 months, you should be 10xing yourself, period. Like, your knowledge there it's not getting better a little at a time. It is like a growth curve.
Right. That's how I feel when I am especially doing any type of AI coding using Cursor. I've used Windsurf. I've used Klein a little bit. If you haven't already played with AI coding, I think GitHub Copilot is typically that entry level because everybody has a GitHub. It's really easy to get started. But looking at, let's say, continuous threat exposure management, that's an area that we both know and love. Oh, yeah. It's vital because there's two sides. There's assessing your exposures, and then there's a side of validating. Is this truly a vulnerability or an area that I'm exposed? If you were building out a C10 program, not even a product, but a program at an enterprise company, which model or models are going to be your starting point?
If I had the budget right this second, I would go with potentially Sonnet because it's cheaper. If I didn't have the budget, I would go ahead and make sure I have the talent to go ahead and run models internally like a DeepSeek.
Do some fine tuning on something like DeepSeek.
100%.
We're on a thread. There's this thread that, and I had Pedro Mamini on last week. We were talking about Obsidian and the group that we're in called Obsidian Obsessions and AI. Yeah. And someone in there was talking about the cost of training DeepSeek R1 to be an automated red teamer is $25,000. That's it. $25,000 to be an AI red teamer / pen tester. It will go out and do that deep research like you're mentioning. You have to, of course, give it guidelines and guardrails, but it's been shown, and there's like some kind of proof of concepts out there that a $25,000 investment could get you to the point to where you could maybe start a pen testing consultancy firm and not have a pen tester that you're employing. You probably still need to have those chops, but with something like DeepSeek R1, you could get there. And I think, like you mentioned, if you have the budget, I would go foundational model. I would go with the foundational model, use some, fine tuning or creating an embedding layer and trying to get some information from there. The thing, though, that I hear over and over again is people don't fully trust the output. There's a human in the loop that's necessary because there's hallucination, and sometimes AI just makes its best prediction rather than giving you the actual facts. Where do you stand on allowing AI to augment your own actions?
I would do it. If you're 100%, if you are your own, if you have a cybersecurity company doing pen tests or boutique pen tests, and you think you're doing some of that automation, how about this? Build it and then go to like bug bounty programs and get your money up, because that will be the creds that you need to say my stuff works because we are finding bugs X, Y, Z. So all you would need to do is hire me to give you a certification so you could say to said, people or auditors, we've done our pen tests, right? Now, if you have your internal red team, I would be going ahead and building a tool set that will assist and do that. Look, there's always going to be false positives.
Always.
Like, how are you going to limit them? Right? And that takes time. But if you invest, you're going to be better for investing. And it's going to cost you much less than, and we went through this experience when we were at Intel working together. We needed budget for tools. They didn't want us to build tools. We had to go out and buy tools because we could leave anytime. So they didn't want us to invest time into building something. So we had to purchase product. It's all good. It's a new day. Things and products and scripts and it happens in days. I'm hoping people are watching this, and CISOs and CTOs, don't let them fool you. No more 6 months projects. Has to be under 3 months, a month. Like maybe you got the wrong people in there. It has to be fast. It's go time because everything is changing now. There's so many tools that are being released. By the time you finish the project, all your stuff is old. This is why you're not seeing a lot of books on AI coming out because it's already old. By the time it's finally reviewed and released, that is gone. That way of thinking is gone.
Where do you think we should be spending our time? Because obviously, you mentioned we should be spending at least part of our time learning about these new systems. I think everybody should be spending time reading the news, understanding what's dropping in the space. But I think with all of the new tech, it can be a little confusing. Should I be spending my time researching? Should I be spending my time implementing? Should I be spending my time prompting? What about you? Where are you investing and where would you advise people that are a little lost to invest their time?
One of my favorite quotes is by Abraham Lincoln. If you have to cut down a tree, you're going to spend in 30 minutes or whatever the case is, you're going to spend 25 sharpening the axe. Right. So you got to know exactly what you need. Is that going to fulfill the needs? And if it is, you should be researching and then figuring out those things and how to execute, because when it's time to execute, it should be straightforward, just like a to-do list.
I agree with especially the sharpening of the axe. I look at things from an architecture view all the time, especially being a previous security architect. A lot of the time, you should be planning. The plan is way more important than the execution. I hear some, people speak about, well, I'm going to choose the perfect tech stack. Good luck. Because there's no such thing. Like you just mentioned, it's going to evolve. It's going to change. You're going to need to rip things out. But if you have a solid plan and a deep understanding of how things work within your environment or your ecosystem, everything becomes swappable. You can switch things out at the drop of a hat.
100%. And you have to be adaptable into the environment now. Next week, something else is going to happen. Something else is going to drop that might change the landscape. Just like Grok, it took the whole game in a chokehold this week. And they were beefing. OpenAI and Elon, Sam and Elon are constantly beefing on Twitter. And he was like, watch this, son. Catch up to you in a year. Done.
Right.
So that's how fast we're moving.
It is breakneck. My biggest concern with all of the innovation right now is distraction and paralysis by analysis. I think that there's way too much to look at. And also the content. People love Hacker Valley. There's a million other podcasts as well. So with all of the AI coming out, all of the podcasts, all of the content, there's a lot of training out there now. I feel like there's a opportunity to be more distracted than ever, which could get you in a lot of trouble.
Mm-hmm. I'm happy you said that because I wrote a long prompt that has like 10 paragraphs or whatever. And instead of me searching on the web, this is what I care about. Grok, go ahead and fetch me everything for today that I want to know. And I put everything there. It fetches it. That's all right, cool. Agents, new agents, cybersecurity, what's going on in the world, tech news, and more cybersecurity. And I'm going. Then it's off to what I need to do to execute for the day.
It's crazy that, some of these philosophies that are legendary and come from the beginning of times or times as we know it. You brought up Abraham Lincoln. There's a very famous quote, the quality of your life is determined by the quality of your questions. I look at that as the prompt. If you're able to ask effective questions, especially to AI, great. If you're able to ask effective questions to your team, great. I think that is where we're at right now in the world. Is it's all about asking the right questions and getting people to know who you are. Because I heard another great quote that it's not about who you know, it's about who knows you, which I was like, oh man, like that is a really great quote, especially in this day of, everybody advertising themselves on LinkedIn and doing personal branding.
Yeah.
So I definitely think that, like the questions that we're asking, whether it be to oneself, the AI or others, is going to really be a determining factor of where you're at in your career and in your life.
100%. And anyone that wants to learn how to like really prompt and interact with that, go to promptingguide.ai, right? That is really good. It'll speed you up and it'll help you understand what is a zero shot prompting or, meta prompting or chain of thought prompting. So you have to be aware of all these things that is in the realm of learning how to ask those questions and what's going to get you the best results.
So let's talk about this 2025 prediction that you made, right? Because when you came on, you're the first episode of 2025. You said this is the year of the agent, which there's a lot of people that agree with that and also have recognized and acknowledged that. Where do we stand? It's we're going into the third month of 2025. Where do we stand with this being the year of the agent?
It is wild. It is wild. It's a wild, wild west. And it reminds me of back in the day of like 2007 where security wasn't a big thing. So, you could do some cool things with Operator if you're looking at using Operator and put your security hat on. So, we're building some projects so we could show off some of the things you could do with Operator.
What is Operator? Let's start there.
Yes. OpenAI's agent is called Operator. They released it. And actually today they said they're going to release it to the broader market. It was only for pro users that pay $200 a month. And now they're planning to go ahead and open it up to the broader market. And what it allows you to do is basically prompt for like if you want to order a pizza or if you want to audit a website and look for certain vulnerabilities, hint, hint.
Hey.
So yeah, it is very interesting. Even, MCP with Anthropic is it is a little bit worrying to me. And if you look at it, I always say if you're getting updates and you get a pop-up to update, it's always like an access to your box. So, MCP is a little worrying to me. And then, you also have these other agents that you can build out as well. So, it's going to be a great 2 months because I have a feeling a lot of things are releasing probably within the next month or two.
I am curious, what is the future of OpenAI's Operator? I haven't personally tried it out. I do have the pro plan. Thanks to you. You really pushed me to get it. And I saw some of the YouTubers that I follow. They were talking about, ordering a pizza off of Grubhub, for example. The time that it took to prompt the model and then ultimately log into Grubhub was the same time that it would have taken to just open up the app, order your pizza, and hit done. Like, why would I open an app? I could just call Pizza Hut. But I think that when it comes to ordering a pizza, in any case, you already know what you want. Like, I want a pepperoni, or I want two of them, or for the cheese lovers out there, I want a cheese pizza. And I want everything else to be taken care of on my behalf. I think that's one of the beautiful parts of things like Grubhub and DoorDash is it has my address saved. It has my information. It's got my credit card. And I typically pay the same way. Like if I pay on DoorDash, I typically use tap to pay method. But I'm curious to see, how does the world adopt the agent? Is it going to be like the new app?
Yeah. You see, the whole thing where we don't know what's going on in the back end is allowing an operator for you to put your credentials in the operator, right? Like, where's that going? Where is it saved? How do I trust you?
Yep.
Those are questions that everyone would have. I don't think I would do it, but that's what everybody is hyped up. Oh, I could order Uber. Nobody's gonna. It's just like showing like you can do it. You can prompt it to, right? Which is impressive. And like I said, this morning I was doing some security testing and I was impressed. So I'm like, you could do way more. I was just spent 10 minutes and I was like, I could see what I could do here. Look, here's my recommendation. If you have the money, you should be paying for the Pro. I think the $200 is worth it. If you have the workflows that I'm saying, you should pay for it. You should pay for Sonnet. You definitely should pay for Grok 3. So those three, plus like a Cursor or a Windsurf, you should be, you're investing in yourself. So look, I would say this, if you were a carpenter, you would have many tools. There's going to be one tool that costs you a lot of money, but you only have that tool for a specialized project, but you never know when you're going to need it.
There's some people out there that do like copying and pasting, especially looking at the security use cases. When I was first getting into the source space, I would go into organizations and they would say, why will we automate this? It only takes a few seconds to copy and paste it. And I agree, sure, it only takes a few seconds, but it depends on how much information you got coming in. If you have only a little bit of information, maybe you are working working on a team that is very boutique. You have a small number of customers. I think that you could get away with not using AI, and it actually would probably save you some time to not invest time in it. But
listen, I want to interrupt you. Those 17 seconds that it takes, you add 17 seconds over like time, and how much time would you save over a year?
I will say this. I was doing some AI coding on Saturday, and I had a very specific thing that I was going to build. And the AI created me this beautiful plan. It wrote me thousands of lines of code. I did a word count in the terminal and said 5,300. Wrote 5,300 lines of code. After it was all said and done, I went back to the plan and I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot one of the most important pieces. I was doing a text analysis and I forgot to tell it that you're going to be looking at this part of a JSON object. And due to that mistake, that oversight on my part, it took me all day on Sunday to rectify the thing that I had missed. If I would have coded it myself, I think it would have taken a little bit of less time because I wrote the code. I understand how it works. But since I didn't understand how it works, the train was already gone from the station, and it took a lot of research, prompting, and understanding to get back to home base.
Now, I concur. I concur with that. But what I don't concur with is you writing 5 lines of code in 2 or 3 days. You think you could write 5,000 lines of code and not be tired and thinking and everything? I'd rather just be prompting and importing. Could be. That's the way I think of it. Because 5,000, I actually last May, I went and I was coding. I coded around 7,000 lines of code. It took me about 3 weeks. And then you introduced me to Cursor and I said, oh my God, I don't have to ever do any of that again. So, it's look, you're going to need tools. You have your assistant now.
Yeah.
Your AI assistant is there for you. You have to figure out, are you going to resist or are you going to integrate it and put a feather in your cap?
Here's what I think is the important part on both sides is how. If you don't know how to prompt, you're definitely in the red. You're in the danger zone. If you don't know how to implement what you're trying to do, especially from a cybersecurity perspective, you're in the danger. If you're leaning on the AI being able to tell you exactly what to do and how to do it and then do it for you, then are you truly needed, or can they hire someone for a lower wage to do that prompting on your behalf? So I think knowing how to prompt and also knowing how to do the thing, they're equally important for now. I don't think that's going to be the case forever, because just like we see with tech, And driving, driving is one of those things where you need way less skills to drive these days than you did in the 50s.
That is true. It keeps you right on the road. There's no swerving. You'll hear a beep and get you back up or something like that. So
exactly.
I mean, we're living in some great times, and you could even use Grok on your Tesla to like write code on the screen. Yeah, that dropped too. That dropped too, sir. So we're talking about hyper productivity now. So if you're not productive, not to put any pressure, but I'm just saying, like, there's stuff coming out, and dudes are getting, and people in general are getting really good at using AI, implementing it to shortcut what they have to do to get something done and pushed out the door. So fail fast and fail often, which was Meta's, term in the late 2000s, it is relevant back again.
So, Marco, we're going to do 12 episodes this year at a minimum. Yeah. We're going to do 12 episodes. We're going to do one a month. You set the vibe in the first episode. You said 2025 is the year of the agents. Mm-hmm. Looking into your magical crystal ball, going into March, what is your prediction for March 2025?
Dude, I've been seeing some crazy things. I've seen single file agents.
I just saw that.
Yeah, single file agents. I did see another guy that he just dropped it 2 days ago, and it's a program. I'll make sure I'll bring it up for the next one we do. It is called Arch something, but what it does is that it like creates the agent that you would want. So it basically
Archon.
There it is. Yeah. So that I was seeing that. I was like, bro, it is about to be wickedly cool. And I think one of the things that people have to think of is be creative, learn how to be creative, think, because the world is our oyster now. So I think we're going to continue on, and we're next month we'll talk about, some of the agents, and, if you want to go into it, agent components and so on and so forth. So I'm looking forward to that.
All right. We're setting the standard. Next month, we're expecting agents to be building agents consistently.
Yeah.
I love it. Marco, I appreciate it. Thank you for taking some time out of your busy day, jumping on the mics, hanging with me, and also the audience.
Look, final word. I'll see you next month. Make sure you grind. Hit up Ron. Follow Hacker Valley. There's so much information coming out of there, and we'll see you next time.